All right, ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? How are you doing today? I hope everybody's doing really well. Thank you so much for being here today. As you can tell, Chris G, member for 4 months. Good morning, brother. How you doing? Thank you so much for being here. As you can tell, there's a new setup. You're going to see some different things today. That is 100% accidental. You got to be really careful when you're updating Streamlabs OBS to not overwrite everything you've done. So I was up until 1:30 this morning trying to fix my mess. Not only did I do that, I lost a lot of the research that I'm supposed to be doing for today. But, you know, it happens. So goes life. But hopefully you like what I have presenting. Hopefully the screen looks good. You like what's there. And you guys kind of like this new layout. So hopefully it's there. Chat looks like it's working across very well. Looks like things are showing up where they need to be. So this is good. All right. So as you can see by this screen that is here, I'm going to be talking about this particular coin right here. This particular, well, if you're on the other one, it's down there. And that is the Spanish real. Now, the reason that I'm going to be talking about the Spanish real is because in the conversation that we had last week, we talked about Sir Isaac Newton, we talked about the London Mint, we talked about clipping coins, and some of the advents that had happened within Sir Isaac Newton's realm as leader of the London Mint, to try and advance numismatics, to do things like put the edge and the rim on, to add the little denticles on there to make it harder to clip coins. So as we talked about that, hey, Z Coins, what's going on? Thanks for being here. Appreciate you being in the stream today. So as we kind of talked about that, one of the members of the channel said, do you think that the clipping of the coins came from the Spanish real? Hi, Chris G, what's going on, brother? Thanks for being in. They said, do you think that the clipping of the coins that was happening in London, just in England in general at the time, do you think that that came from what was happening and what the intent of the Spanish real was? And it's like, well, in some part, yes. However, it's not solely. There were more nefarious purposes. Roxzilla, what's going on? Good morning. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for being a channel member. But I wanted to kind of talk about that because it was a really good question, and it was something that begs to be discussed. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Spanish real, talk a little bit about its history. It's quite a remarkable coin. And in fact, it is probably one of the coins that kicked off money, the idea, the general premise for money in many of the places. Now you see behind me, or below me, you'll see these maps. This is the map of the Spanish Empire. What you don't see in portrait mode is the area that, as you come down through into South America, but over here, all through here, you'll see the trade routes that go all around Africa, all the way in down through India, and then back across in order to get to the California coast, where they would circumnavigate that way. And so there were a lot of different routes, a lot of different colonies, and the Spanish had quite the significant set of colonies. There were quite a few colonies, and by the 1500s, there were probably about 7 different nations that were minting the real. And so the real was actually quite common. Mexico, Lima, Peru, all through Brazil, even the Netherlands had a piece that would attribute to what we called the pieces of 8. And we'll be talking about the pieces of 8 because that has a major component to the 8 real and the general purposes of that. So we'll be talking a little bit about that. The other thing that we're going to be looking at is how they did the weights and actually how they created the weights, what happened. We're going to be taking that from the time from about the early 1700s all the way up through kind of like the golden age of piracy. We talk about, Blackbeard and some of the famous pirates through that time frame when they were talking about pieces of 8 and things of that nature. We'll talk a little bit about shipwrecks like the Atocha and how and why they carried reals and why we find so many of them. But so anyway, hope you guys enjoy this. Again, it's going to be more of a continuation of the conversation from last week. But again, we're going backwards in history to talk about the real when we started in London. So hopefully you guys like this. So what we're going to be doing is the real was one of those that the kind of the way it started was through what they call a cob. Now, what a cob was, and this was something that happened around the 1500s, mid 1500s, 1550, 1570s, somewhere in that time frame. And what they would do is in the Spanish colonies, okay, they would take silver bars and they would cut the silver bar. Once they cut the silver bar, they would hammer it into the appropriate shape. Big Apple stackers in the house. What's going on, Big Apple? Hope you're doing well. Thanks for coming in today. They would take the little slice from this silver bar. And they would hammer it out to a planchet, a round die. And then after being hammer struck into the right shape, they would take the die and then they would smack it onto that particular item. Now, depending upon a single or double-sided coin, now the real was a double-sided coin, which means that they would have a bottom piece, they would have a top piece, they would have a person with the hammer, and they would have a person set the die on there, move their finger, and smack it. And so it became precarious for the person who was putting the little silver planchet on there in order to hammer the die. But your hammer basically just, all it took is a little bit of brawn and a really good solid strike. That was basically how they were hammering these coins into place. Now, they had weighed these out, so they were accurate in weight. But what used to happen is that in these mints of the time, if for some reason the weight was off, the mint itself would clip the coin. So it was quite frequent that when you originally had this particular coin, it could be clipped from the very onset. And so a clipped coin wasn't something out of the ordinary. Now, they made different sizes based off of the weight. The ones that you'll see, and we'll talk about today, were the quarter, the half, 1, 2, 4, and 8 reals. And it all had to do with the weight itself. But these cobs were those things, again, where, they took the piece of silver and did that. Now, the problem that they had back in those days was that even though the weight was correct, the silver compound, and until we got later on and the refining got a little bit better, would vary between bars. And so you may have really good silver content in one bar, and then you may have more lead or something in the other bar. And so your items would change. Siren, what happened if they hammered their thumb? It would probably smash the heck. And no, it is not corn on the cob, unless the image that they were putting on the cob was a image of corn. Then you could actually have corn on the cob, which is kind of funny. Never thought of it that way. But yeah, the biggest thing for the person who was placing it was just making sure their hand is out of the way before they struck it. Now, strucking with hammer, it wasn't a very fast thing. Again, last week we talked about Sir Isaac Newton and his development working with the screw press and how it improved to about 30 coins per hour, which was really cool. It's a really good advancement, but the amount of effort that went into a single coin was pretty exciting, because there's, you have a multitude of people handling this one thing in order to get the image on there. Now, as a reminder, hey, Sorcerer Stan's in the house. What's going on, Sorcerer Stan? Hey, thank you for all the support. I appreciate you, bud. Good to see you. There's this thing with advances in technology, where advances in technology are done either through necessity or to prevent a situation. More times than not, the creation comes from necessity. And so looking at the advancements that we talked about last year came from some of the things that came from here, but it wasn't the only thing. In a short that I did midweek, it did really well. Lots of questions one of the comments was, what is the generalized group that used to do this? Well, in Spain, it could be the Mint. The Mint could have been the ones that actually do the clipping itself. Hey, Stan Horn, how you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. The one thing about this, why is 133? Do you know anything about the island Australia no longer on modern maps? I don't. It's a little off topic. But if you do exclamation point email, you can get my email and then you can send me the question and then I can target that question and look and see if I can do that. But no, I actually don't do that. Unless you're talking about the one that's in the Pirates of the Caribbean. Hey, Papa York, what's going on? How you doing? Lunatic Fridge, I know you're out there. But again, it's one of those things where I kind of squirreled myself and got technology is the necessity, right? It's built off necessity. So when we look at the question of, did that kind of happen? Did those coins get clipped purely from a standpoint of weight, or were they looking at skimming? What was the purpose of the clipping of the coin? And a lot of discussion happened, but there's a couple of things about that particular discussion. What's up, Starika? There's a couple of things about that particular thing that I want to discuss. One of the sets of comments was very anti-Semitic, saying that the Jews were the primary reason that they were clipped coins. And I want to dispel that. While there were different classes of people and different people who were doing this as part of practice, it wasn't a specific entity, religion, race, creed. There were organized crime called the Clippers. This happened in England around the 1770s, 1780s. This was organized crime. They would actually grab just tons and tons and tons and tons of coins, and they would clip them. And they would do partial clippings, which was, so you have full clippings, which it would be really small. Then you have a partial clipping, which just basically took the hammered edge around, making it look like more of a round coin. And then you had the whole coin that you could see the hammered edge. And you would have groups of organized crime that would actually go through and do this. But in Spain, it was a little bit different because you could get a clipped coin directly from the mint, depending upon the weight. At that time, weight was more important. The weight of the silver is actually, they talk about something being worth its weight. In most cases, that reference is in relation to gold, but they're talking about it being worth its weight. And that's what they're talking about. They're talking about the value of the coin's weight. Now, we talk about today, 1 ounce, 1 troy ounce. Again, it was one of those things, but we have denominations. Back then, the primary thing was the weight. So if they took a piece of that silver cob, hammered it out, and then its weight was too high, then they would, cut that off a little bit, weigh it until it actually weighed the proper amount. So the art of clipping came from the mint, but you'd have criminals do it, and you would have clipping done in trade. Now, later on, when we're talking about England, like we talked about last week, merchants knew the value of a regular and normal size coin. And so while this was used in Spain for a couple hundred years, and the 8 reals are still out there, you find them, they're very common, they're very popular when you talk about shipwrecks like the Atocha, and all the pieces of 8. Pieces of 8 wash up on many coasts along the United States. Primarily Florida has been a really big place, but you get into the Carolinas and even up north near Maine, periodically they will have coins wash up. There was a story not too long ago about a gentleman walking one of the coasts, metal detecting. And again, there's a gentleman I'll talk to you about here in just a minute, doing some metal detecting, that actually found a gold coin, started digging some more, found more and more and more and more, ended up finding a whole ton of these gold coins. They had a storm come through, washed them back out to sea, and they could never find them again. Now, these things happen. And these things happen because these ships like the Atocha carried gold or silver or gems or whatever it is to the New World in order to trade. Now, they were always looking to get stuff as well. So, they would come into these cities and they would take their silver or gold, melt it down, create the coins, and then ship them back to Spain or England or France, wherever the country was coming from. And so when these shipwrecks, or when these ships would wreck, they would run into coral, they would be sunk in battles, or they would be sunk in pirate raids, heavy weather, storms like typhoons or even hurricanes obviously would sink some of these. There were rocks, again, when you're traveling during the 1500s to a new world and you were arriving during the nighttime hours, you may not know there's an outcropping of rock, heavy winds, heavy seas, currents that were unanticipated would drag you into rock. So there are a lot of reasons for the shipwrecks, but these coins get washed up quite a bit of time. I know some people from New York who were clippers too. Anyway, sorry. I have a fake 8 real that sticks to a magnet. That is actually quite common. Counterfeit reals is something that you see quite frequently. Again, the potential value for an 8 real. Hey, coach, what's going on? Good to see you. Appreciate you being here. But anyway, counterfeits across the board. I mean, if something's worth money, most likely there's going to be a counterfeit of it somewhere. But let's go ahead and get back into, we talked a little bit about the history and why they did it, but let's actually get back into the clipping and start talking about the actual practice of clipping the coins in Spain and in the colonies of Spain during this time frame. Big Apple's like, I know those guys. Forget about it. Obviously, I don't do a very good wise guy, but, I'll keep working on it. Go see what hey, I need to have somebody, hold on, let me try this again. Hey, Big Apple, I need to have somebody fitted with some concrete shoes, It's an effort. I'll keep working on it. Papa York says, I met a metal detector guy on the beach in North Carolina who had found Spanish gold coin, tens of thousands of dollars in one coin. Yeah, it's crazy. There's a lot of metal detectors, and there's a lot of treasure seekers. In the Oregon coast, my mom's familiar. If you ever see his Special K, forget about it. If you ever see his Special K, that's my mom. And she lives in Cannon Beach, Oregon. And there's a company called Cannon Beach, I think it's a Shipwreck or Cannon Beach Collectibles or something like that. And they actually do a lot of shipwrecks and stuff like that. They sell a lot of items, and they make pendants and rings and all sorts of stuff out of these. They have old Russian coins and Roman coins and Greek coins and things of that nature. Those ones that are allowed to be had. Sometimes you can't have certain Roman or Greek coins, but they do this, and they have various coins from the Atocha and stuff like that. So finding these is really cool. In fact, Red Silver's like, don't waste your time. Don't waste your time what? Searching for them? Metal detecting is something people do for fun. Hopefully you find some really cool stuff. If you go out there thinking you're going to hit it big, looking for it, you're probably going to be sadly mistaken. Sorry, nose is itching. Don't do anything expecting to get rich. Go there expecting to have fun and do what you have, and hopefully what you enjoy makes you some money. Unless you're, obviously doing a business, but many treasure seekers go broke. They just don't find anything. They do a lot of investment. There's a lot of risk reward, more risk than reward. But when you do find something, it's definitely something that is, it's really cool. I am not a metal detector. I've done it once or twice by borrowing other people's stuff, but I know people who do it all the time. In fact, the short that I talked to you guys about earlier, I'm talking with a gentleman. I'm actually going to be bringing him up next weekend, and he has a collection of real coins that he's found. New York. Gotcha. Are you from Jersey? The amount of coins and some of the cool stuff that he's found searching across different locations in different areas both near the coast and inland relative to the coast. He's found some really cool stuff. So him and I have talked. I'm going to be bringing him up next week to kind of show and go through some of his collection. But they're really cool. And I'll be bottom line up front. I don't have any reals. I don't have halves, eights, any of them. I don't have any shipwreck coins. I would like to get them, but on order of precedence, they're kind of low. Anybody who knows me knows I love to collect ships. So this is something that really does need to be in my collection. I just haven't done it yet. So I'm going to, it's not like I can pull up a bunch of stuff and show you. I have to rely on the graces of people who actually have these in order to see and bring them up and share these items. I'm talking about it because somebody asked about it. So that's basically the premise of why I'm going over this particular topic. But let's go ahead and kind of break out the real and let's talk about, do you ever notify the authorities? Jolly Doug Green, Texas. It's a great question. By law, you're supposed to notify them. And yeah, Siren, you can undelete that. It's okay. I'll let you know if it's too much. I appreciate you doing that, but you can go ahead and bring that up. No big deal. Primary reason is as long as it's not blatant. Again, I don't mind. You guys are grown adults. It's not a big deal. Jolly Doug Green Green, Texas. Watch language is something that I kind of would like to watch. I know you did that. It's not a big deal. I don't really mind. What I can't stand is I can't stand calling people out based off of race, creed, religion, things like that. Just don't do that. But if you're asking a question, it's an honest to God question. I don't really mind if you use some language. Let's just kind of keep it clean. You can't do it. It doesn't matter. Jolly Green, Texas. You want to enter it again. It's okay. But the question that was asked was, do you ever notify the authorities or just say, screw it? Nah, no worry about it. Not at all. No, I'm not sweating it at all. Siren's a great moderator doing exactly what she's supposed to do. I appreciate it. But again, when asking a legitimate question, trolls are a big one. So by all requirements, you're supposed to notify the authorities. Do people do it? Yeah, of course not. Because you run the risk of them taking it, claiming it a national treasure, or, if you find something like, say you find a 33 Godden's double eagle, something, and you report it, it's illegal to own. But it's, so again, it's up to you. I would report it just because, I want to be on the up and up of things. But again, I've never looked for or come across any major hoards. Now, there's a couple big cases on shipwrecks, depending upon where they're at, where a foreign nation, so for instance, you find a big treasure hoard, Spain or Greece or Rome or whomever, they might claim as a national ownership. So they might claim that. So you run the risk when reporting, but it is law. You're supposed to be reporting those things. Again, if Jolly's from Texas, then we're kindred spirits because I'm from Texas as well. But again, so do you report? Yeah. Yeah, don't worry about this, Jolly. I appreciate you coming into the stream and putting in comments. So please don't worry about it at all. I don't mind at all. It's not a big deal. But yeah, if you find something treasure hunting, you're definitely going to want to do it. So, but thanks for the question. I appreciate it. So looking at, oh yeah, my impression sucks. Yes, I know that. And I clarified that red silver. I got a joke about it. I won't say it. That's a, after midnight joke, where you do that. But, yeah, my wise guy isn't very good. All right, so let's get back talking about the pieces of 8. Now, the reason that they called them pieces of 8, and a lot of people think that the coin itself was just because it was an 8 real, they called it a piece of 8. But the purpose for the 8 real is because they actually would cut that into what they called bits. Now, the bit is a single real. It's equal to a very specific weight. and exchange value. So the currency was split into, as a, hey, Vegas Stacker, what's going on? Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. So when you're looking at a specific real, you're talking about, again, denominations of the half, 1, 2, 4, or 8. And the 8 real could be cut into 8 bits. The 4 real would be cut into 4 bits. And we get the expression, how many people have heard the phrase 2 bits? Well, they used to talk about it being, 50 cents or 2 quarters, but the term 2 bits actually came from this Spanish real. And so the 2 bits are something that, do you have a cob? I have a bar, and if I cut the bar, then I'll have a cob. And we have no corn in the house, so I don't have that kind of cob. Unless you want to nickname something else a cob, and I won't do that. But again, you had these various denominations, you had these various items, and they would cut the coin. Now, one of the questions when I did the short and talked about it was that, did they cut them into perfect triangles? No. Sometimes they could if they had the right tools, but more times than not, they clipped it based off of weight. So they would clip it kind of round. They would take the edge clipping and they would clip it off. And then when they got a certain amount, they would, melt it and turn it into a bar or whatnot. Then they would sell those bars back and then they could make the coins again. So there was kind of this cycle of items. Starika says, hi, Siren on the other side, which is great because I love being able to do this. That's funny. So they would take pieces. So for instance, let's say that you had something and you had an 8 real coin and you wanted to take something and the charge for that was 2 bits. So basically what you would do is you would take 1/4 of the coin and you would basically clip that out and you would give that to them. And so that would be 2 bits. That would be, if you cut it into 8s, that would be 2 8s, right? Or 1/4 of the coin. And so that's where they get the 2 bits from. 4 bits was half of the coin, if you're talking about an 8 real. Now, if you're talking about the weight of that, it would be exactly half of the weight of the 8 real. So if we're talking about ounces, for instance, if an 8 real was 1 ounce coin, then a 4 bit would be a 1/2 ounce, 1/4 ounce, 1/8 ounce, so on and so forth. So that's basically the premise of where we got the pieces of 8. Now, on some of the reals, the actual 8 was stamped. Now, I have a piece of information here, and I'm going to try and see if I can find it. I actually had something listed, but I have to pull it back up again because, again, as I was doing this, I lost a lot of my data yesterday in a crash. So I'm going to pull up a couple of these. Now, a lot of people don't know that when they talk about Spanish real, the Spanish real is the general premise of the empire colony, okay? But they were minted in a bunch of different places. Now, when you look at reals, you're going to see Mexican reals, you're going to see Santo Domingo reals, you're going to see Santiago, you're going to see from Guatemala. And again, you're going to see these same thing, the peso as well, right? So again, when you're looking at these things, you're going to be looking at quite a bunch of mints. So the ones that I am aware of, okay, are, you're going to see Bogota, Colombia, you're going to see Caracas, Guatemala, Lima, Peru, Mexico City, Papayanan, I don't know where that is, Potosi, don't know where that is, Santo Domingo, Santiago. You're also going to see reals from the Argentina. You're going to see the American public real, which was something that when the Spanish reals came over to America, they would take those, they would restamp those to whatever it is. Some of the first continental currency, where you have the 1773, 1776 coins, were taken from those and then minted. That would same would happen with copper and brass coins. This wasn't just a real thing. But again, it was the Spanish real that basically introduced coin and actually produced coinage that would eventually in 1792 through the Coin Act that happened here in the United States would actually take those and then they would mint their own coins. But a lot of the coins that we got, a lot of the things that were utilized came from that 8 real. Now, when you're talking about Spanish colonial silver, most of the colonies that started, again, they were, 1400s, but most of the minting of these came specifically between 1572 and 1773. When you're talking about the North American colonies, okay? Obviously, it wasn't America at the time. Christopher Columbus is credited with discovering America. Actually, he didn't claim it. So that honor went to Amerigo Vespucci. But again, when you're looking at this particular item, I'm talking about the realm of 1572 to 1773, somewhere in that time frame. And again, these were hammer-struck coins. They weren't machined. So when you looked at the coins, they were irregular shape. Now, when you look at coins from the 1700s on, you're going to see that shape becomes more round because they got away from doing the hammered coins we talked about last week. We talked about Sir Isaac Newton and the French designer who actually created the screw press. The screw press allowed for more weight to be impressed on a coin, so you had cleaner strikes, or actually pressings from that coin, so you had better quality images. They also were able to do better lettering on the outside edge, and they introduced again the rim, and then they introduced the edge denticles, right? The denticles that went around, which made it harder to do some of the clipping of the coins. Now, even in the 8 reals, they didn't do the denticles, but they did still clip the coin, even though they were utilizing this screw press technology to make those. And that, again, that went all the way up. And as time went on, the screw presses went from basically horse-pulled and, 4-man teams to mild hydraulic compression ones where they could just turn a screw. And they became very small, very easy to use, very easy to manage. Very interesting. Thank you for the information, learning something new about treasure findings. Hey, Jolly to Green, Texas, please do me a favor. If you're not subscribed to the channel, that would be awesome. Hit the notification bell. Come on in. I do this every Saturday and Sunday. If you're interested in doing this, please come on by. But please, at a minimum, please smash that like on the way out. Thanks for your participation. Thanks for coming by. And again, hope to see you back in the streams. That would be awesome for you to come back. We talk about different stuff tomorrow. It's just general chit chat. We talk about all sorts of topics. So if you're back around the same general time frame, please feel free to come on in. Good seeing you. Thanks for being here. All right. So again, we talked about the 2 bits. We talked about that. Now, one thing that happened in the U.S. before it was the U.S., the American colonies, was that we would restrike silver coins, right? We would take the silver coins and we would do that. We also took silver bars and we would do the same thing. We would have a cob. They would cut the silver, they would weigh it, then we would create our own stamps, and then we would mint our own things. And we relied on various trade coins coming in from all sorts, the peso, the real, even the pence, right? We would take those, the coppers. Generally, the copper wasn't something that we struck. Usually we utilize those from the nation that they came in. Later on, we would repurpose those copper ones, but for striking and minting our own, utilization of these particular ones came in. Now, when you look at the screen that I show here, this coin right here was what was called columnarios, or columnarios. Now, the columnarios were minted by Spain 1732 to 1773. And they had these very distinct columns that were there. These were struck in Mexico, Guatemala, Lima, Peru, Santiago, Chile, Bolivia, Colombia. And we talked about this in just a few moments ago. And in these particular ones, again, they utilize the same ones Keyframes are in widget. I'm getting an error. Not sure why. I need to find out what's going on. I'm getting an error in my stream. Not sure what's going on. I'll have to check that out, see if I can figure out what's going on with that. But when you did this particular coin, this is back again. We talk about treason, right? Clipping coins, changing coins, and all that it was all part of the hey, what's going on, Eric? Hey, it's open for you if you want to come up. I know you had a bunch of stuff you were going to do. If you're just listening, then go ahead. But if you want to come up and join the chat, it's open for you. I can pull that up. No big deal. So I'm going to change screens really quickly and show you something. Again, we change of scenes. Again, we have this new thing that's going on. So again, you'll see the chat down below. But what I want to do is I want to kind of show this image that's either below me or to the right of me. And so in looking at this, the Spanish real, again, you'll see the map here. But what's important is when you look at the map down here, down at the bottom, you're going to see that everything in red was where a lot of these coins were being utilized, right? So they were pulling silver from all of these areas along the coast. They were finding these nations down in Brazil. They were finding Argentina, all the way through Central America. And they were utilizing a lot of these items to, they would melt whatever they had down, cut it up, then cob it up. Hey, what's going on, Eric? How you doing?
Very good. How are you?
I am doing well. It's really hard to give a talk when all of your research material went to the window.
Well, you got a little piece of a real under my camera right now.
Outstanding. Hold on, let me pull it up.
And I actually tried, I do have a 2 real that's an Atosha coin. And then I have a ring that is a facsimile 2 real Atosha coin, but I couldn't find them. They're in my wife's jewelry box.
Very cool.
So, but I did find this one.
Yeah, this is something I definitely need to get. I need to get me a shipwreck coin. Again, you guys, I collect ships and stuff like that. I love ships on coins. I love pirate lore and anything that has to do with the sea. Again, which is a pirate's favorite letter. A lot of people think it's I and R, but it actually is the C.
You don't see a lot of detail on this, but there is detail actually on it. Let's see if the reverse kind of shows more detail. But it was a shipwreck coin. It went down in 1681.
And which shipwreck was that? Did it say?
Consolacion.
Okay.
And then the other one I have is an actual coin that was rescued by Mel Fisher from the Atosha. So, but I couldn't get that one out.
Yeah, that's a pretty famous one. A lot of people are very aware of the Atosha, which is why I kind of brought it. Tunnel Echo. Okay, so Eric came up and now there's Echo. Is that what you're saying?
It might be gone because it might have been me. I had to mute my YouTube feed.
Oh, okay. That could have been why. Let me know if it's any better, Red Silver. Thanks for letting me know too. Appreciate it. I didn't hear it on my end, but I'm getting it through a single source. I'm not hearing it through the YouTube side.
Picking up my speakers, I might have to turn my noise cancellation on.
Yeah, just let me know if you're getting that. If you are, then we'll make adjustments. There was so I have to tell you what happened last night. I'm going to kind of deviate real quick. It's kind of what we do here. So last night I went to update my little alerts. You know how when somebody does a super chat, Eric is still echoing. Okay.
Right.
When somebody does a super chat or when somebody does a super chat or a membership, you get the little notification thing that pops up. So I went to update it, and apparently Streamlabs created a change to the way that they upload, so that when you click one of the alerts, it actually downloads the entire skin. And my audio is good. Only Eric is echoing. Okay. Let me see. It might be coming back through my speaker. So let me do this. Let me turn me down. Try talking now, Eric. Let me know if that's any better.
Alrighty. Yeah. So
let me know if that's any better. So did that resolve that situation? Keep talking, Eric.
God, now I can't say anything. You put me on the spot.
Hey, Check Stacker, what's going on? Hi, Miss Coin Crew. Love you, miss you.
All right, AZ Coins.
Yeah, so
well, they're not saying anything now.
Nope, it's no better, or nope, it's not echoing. I'll have to figure this out because I only have one open. Cat chases squirrels until they make funny sounds. Indeed. Sounds like he's in a long, empty hallway.
All right.
You're not in the bathroom, are you?
I'm not. I'm on what I'm always on, so it's weird because I usually don't have any issues with my mic.
Well, again, I had to change all my settings and stuff, so it could be mine. I may have to go back through and look at it and see what I can find. But I probably nope, echo, but better than before. Okay, so I turned down my receiver on my end, so it could be the sensitivity on my side. I may have the sensitivity picked up too high, and it may be picking up yours. So I can turn mine down just a little bit and see if that reduces it as well. So try talking and see if it's, yeah, still a slight echo, but better than before. Yes.
Right, so it's probably picking up your speakers.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So I'm doing the audio. It's coming through. Okay. He sounds better. That's good. All right. So the changes I made are working. All right. I've got to play with the audio quality. Again, I lost everything, all my structure set up, and you can see by the stream that it's no longer the same format. The same setup is different. So I had to redo it all. So I expect some issues, but I'm glad it's better than before. All right. So Ms. Coin Crew, how are you guys recovering after Tulsa? Hope you guys are good. I really bums me out. I got sick and couldn't go. I was going to try and sneak up there, but ended up getting to the point where, I couldn't even walk up a flight of stairs without difficulty breathing. So hopefully you guys had a good time. Hopefully you guys turned a good profit and sold some good stuff. I know I was seeing that Keith bought a bunch of stuff. So hopefully you guys have some good stuff. Show. We'll be seeing you guys tomorrow. You guys are doing live stream tomorrow, right?
Yeah, it looked like a wonderful show. I can't wait to try to get to it, the next one.
Yeah, I'm sad that I wasn't able to go, but I'll take Europe any day of the week.
I'm thinking I'm going to try and get to. Everybody says there's one in Tampa in September. I'm going to try and get there. That's easy because I just drive there and come home.
Yeah.
But then I think my next show I'll do is Greenville, hopefully, and that's usually like October, I think.
There's one coming up in Conroe, which is about 2.5 hours from me. Red Silver says, "Ben $1, Eric."
These are actually affordable. I think they're on. I think you can get some of them. I've seen them on eBay. I think between $30 and $80, depending on how good they are as far as how much details left on them.
Yeah. You know why Miss Coin Crew missed me at Tulsa? So I know the answer to this. I don't think very many people in chat. So Miss Coin Crew, don't give the answer. Okay? But can anybody in chat, I'll give away an ounce of silver if anybody in chat can tell me why Miss Coin Crew missed me in Tulsa. I know the answer that she's going to laugh when I say it. It's very specific. If somebody does it, I will send you an ounce of silver. Take guesses, folks. Eric, you have any guesses?
I do, but it's family friendly. Her and her squirrel stuff.
No. Although I get squirrely too. Come on. Somebody, you were the map. Oh, that was for Miss Ida and Paula. She's a lousy shot. Too busy picking up poo. Oh, that's really weird. Secret Santa. What's up, Ringmaster Ray? How you doing? You know, it's not the only reason, but you know exactly where I'm going with it. Yeah, I was the navigator for Paula and Ida.
Oh, I remember now. Yeah. That was last year.
That was last year. Yeah. But the reason that Miss Coin Crew, I'll give you guys just a second longer, because again, announce you gave a coin with a ship on it. She's never given me a coin with a ship on it. She sold me coins with ship on them. She's really good about saying, hey, I found one though. I absolutely love her for that. Of course, I think everybody in chat, honestly, I think everybody in chat is really cool about letting her know. Watching her table, that is not why she missed me. That is one of the reasons that she appreciated me. All right, she loves them ship coins. Say again?
You and Ida and Paula got there and they got lost, didn't they?
Yeah, I had to take your job, Frostbyte. I know. Hey, I enjoyed going around and helping the various channels and do stuff. I really do want to go back so she could socialize. No. All right, I'm going to give you guys just a second more. Again, folks, it's an ounce of silver. Put in guesses. Good grief. Messages, or is that massages? No, no. Hugs. Ringmaster Ray. Ding, ding, ding. Yes, but do you know why it's hugs? It's because
she hugs everybody.
You're close. You're close. So he's on the right track. He doesn't got the ounce yet. I got my hugs. So the answer, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Ray. Ray, remind me, send me an email. I'm short enough that she can put her arm around me. all the other guys that are there are tall, and so I'm the only person that she can actually put her arm around. But yeah, it's hugs in that. But anyway, it's just kind of a joke between Miss Coin Crew and I. So, but I'll give it to Ray. Close enough with hugs. Hugs were the big one. All right. So let's go ahead and get back to this. So you talked about the Consolazione, which was sunk in 1681 off Santa Clara in Ecuador. Salvage began on the wreck in 1997, was believed to be the Santa Cruz, and then they found out that it was not. It was later called the El Salvador y San Jose, which was sunk on 1680. But research by Robert Marks found in the subsequent years found out that it was part of the South Seas Fleet of 1681, which had left the Port Callao in April and was actually identified as the Consolazione because they were delayed. They actually weren't with somebody. They got caught in a storm and they were sunk. So a little bit about the shipwreck coin that you have there.
What about it?
You didn't hear what I just said?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, so I just...
Okay, I thought you had a question for me.
Oh, no, that was the coin. That was where it came up through.
Now, you did say that they after it was sinking, the crew did set the wreck afire.
Say that again.
When it was sinking, it was in a storm. It was sinking off of the Spanish settlement of, I can't say it. Guayaquil, Ecuador.
Yeah.
Guayaquil,
the Gulf Guayaquil. Yeah.
The crew actually set the ship on fire as it was going down to stop the pirates from trying to get the treasure as it was going down. So there were pirate ships around as it was going down.
Oh, cool. Yeah, no sore necks hanging with my pal. Yeah, it's funny, Miss Coin Crew. So, well, cool. Yeah, I need to get one. I've got a couple ancient coins, but I need to get me a shipwreck coin. So, he says I'm usually sniffing armpits.
And as far as treasure, it actually didn't have a ton of treasure on it in comparison to a lot of the shipwrecks. Like the Etosha has in the Margarita, they have a ridiculous amount of treasure on them. This only had 146,000 insured pesos and 800 silver bars, which is not a lot for the day. Let's see if I can pull up Etosha facts.
Yeah, the Atocha was millions of dollars worth of silver and gold. That was a monster. There's other ones that are about the same size. I don't think the Atocha was the largest one though, was it?
I think Margarita might be bigger, but Margarita was in the same. It was like 11 ships, I think, that went down in a hurricane. Let me see.
Contained 24 tons of silver bullion, ingots, and coins, 125 gold bars and discs, 1,200 pounds of silverware, and an estimated value around 400 million. The Black Swan, discovered by Odyssey Marine,
was what it was valued at.
Say again.
450 million.
Yeah. The Black Swan discovered 17 tons of coins valued at 500 million, and the San Jose Galleon, discovered in 2015, is worth billions. Yeah, they don't even give all the information. They just say it's worth billions. So there's a lot of cool shipwreck coins that are out there. So I need to pick some stuff up. I just need to get off my butt and actually do it. But again, it's a matter of priority. Yeah, there's I think a 22-pound gold chain.
You should see the gold bar, the one that the person walked off with from the Mel Fisher Museum. They got it back, and it's huge. It's probably 15 inches long, 3 inches wide, inch tall.
That's a big bar.
Yeah. Trying to see lots of silver bars. Actually, that 1681 wreck off of Ecuador was not terribly small. It just didn't have a lot of gold and stuff on it. It just, because they're saying that they only had 180,000 pesos of silvers on the Etosha. So
I think it went based off of the one.
A lot more ingots. Yeah, a lot more ingots, but a lot of gold. And there was tons and tons of gemstones, a lot of jewelry, a lot of actual ornate dinnerware and drinkingware. When you go to his museum down in Key West, or the one in Vero Beach, you just see amazing artifacts.
Yeah, I never got the chance to go see that. I need to get out. That's one place I want to do. I have seen some of the smaller ones. I've seen a couple of the shipwreck ones that are up in Oregon along the Oregonian coast. But I haven't. I've only been to Florida a few times. When I was in Florida, I was military, so I wasn't doing coins back then.
What part of Florida were you stationed in? Mayport or Jacksonville?
I went to Orlando for training.
Oh, for basic. All right.
And then I went to Orlando 2 other times for schools. And then I went to Jacksonville, but I wasn't stationed in Jacksonville. It was for a training program. So I was always there for other purposes. I did make 2 trips to Florida to go see shuttle launches, though.
I've watched a lot of the launches, a couple shuttle launches. My big one was my dad, not me, went and saw Apollo 12.
Yeah, see, that would be really cool.
Oh, there's nothing. I've seen a lot of the like Delta rockets and the Atlas rockets. Nothing shakes the ground like a Saturn V.
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, you literally shake when you're in Cocoa Beach.
Yeah,
It's
we had
around.
in '93. There was a launch, and I had never been down there, so it was, it's all toll roads, and I was brand new to Florida. I'd only been there, only in Orlando. Like I had never gone down south, and so trying to figure out where I was, and I tried to go to the base, and they close it, right? So you can't actually get on base during a launch. They shut it down, and so I got to the guard shack about 15, 20 minutes before launch. I was pushing it really, really close.
Yeah.
And I got there and I'm like, okay, well, I can't see. He's like, well, you don't have a very good view here. Like you'll see it, but it's not going to be a very good view because you're 8 miles from where the launch site is. You need to be clear over on the other side across from the bay. That's the best vantage point. There's tons of people over there. And I was like, well, how long is it going to take me to get over there? He's like, a half an hour. I'm like, oh, I'm going to miss this thing. And I was like, man, I came all the way down from Orlando, to watch this launch. And I had to be back in time for my class to start, which started like 2:00 in the afternoon. And I was like, oh, I'm never going to make it. And I was totally depressed. And so he made a couple phone calls and he's like, leave your car here and come with me. So we got in the military vehicle and we drove down, and he stuck me in this little area. There's a little booth, stuck me there. And he's like, you're on watch.
Nice. So you were on Patrick Air Force Base then?
And yes. And he goes, you're on watch. And I said, okay. And I had my photography equipment. And he goes, nobody's going to come by, but if anybody comes by, greet them, ask them for their ID, make sure the dates and stuff are right. I got to get back to the gate. And he left me there. And I got to see the launch from a really, really cool vantage point. I got 3 or 4 really good photos from it. Some of them, because of the positioning, they didn't let me keep them. But yeah, so that was my first launch. The next one I saw from the proper side, and it wasn't quite the same, but still absolutely amazing.
Yeah, on the Treasure Coast, getting back to the Riel, right where you're watching these launches from, there's people like after big storms, they find pieces of 8 all the time.
Yeah, that's what I was saying at the very beginning. I mean, I know you weren't here. You were running errands and getting stuff done. But there's quite a number of people who have just normal metal detecting. They found them, but there's just been people that have been walking the beach that have found these things.
That's right.
You get scuba divers that are out there spearfishing and stuff like that they come across those things every once in a while after storms. But just as storms bring them in, they also take them away. And that's what happened to the guy who found that big hoard of gold. They had found a whole bunch of pieces of gold, and then they had a storm come in, pretty high swell. It was like king tide or whatever it was called. And they went back like 2 days later after it had passed and couldn't find anything. Like everything had been washed back out. So I would love to be able to find one of these, go on, because they have little excursions that you can go on
The thing for when I saw Apollo 12, that was actually run through Kennedy Space Center. We took a bus and went to where they had, grandstands or bleachers and stuff like that. I think my dad paid $25 a ticket back then in the early 70s.
Hey, what's up, FTB? How you doing? Chris G just offered one gift membership. That went to Dan McCumber. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you doing that. That's awesome of you. Definitely appreciate the support. I would, yeah. I mean, you're talking coins, ships, and space. I'm all over this conversation right now.
That meets all the criteria except for airplanes.
Well, what was funny about my first launch is I learned about it like the night before. So I didn't really even know where I was going, right? It just kind of, I had to get down there and get it done. But going back to the coin thing, I would love to take one of those little excursions and go out there and do those little, because the dives are in fairly shallow water. Like they're finding these in 20 feet of water. So it'd be cool to be able to go check out some of these old wrecks and do some of these little excursions. I can't dive. Actually, I shouldn't be diving at all with my lungs, but I can't do anything over like 25 feet.
Yeah, most of these treasure ships went down in like 50 feet of water. They're not very deep.
Yeah, I can't do anything that deep anymore.
Yeah.
Not with my lungs. Too much issue for nitrogen buildup. So, which sucks because I was so close to becoming certified diver. But it is what it is. It happens. But I would love to be able to do one of these shipwrecks and kind of talk about it. That needs to be one of the topics that I go over. I need to find somebody that has done some of these shipwrecks, has actually dove some of these and has some really cool items that can come up on stream and talk about it. My mom knows one person who has dove shipwrecks both in Oregon and in Florida. So I need to see if
I know probably a half dozen people that have actually dove on the Etosha, but they never found anything when they dove it. They just went and worked the vacuums and all that. Metal detected.
Yeah, that's cool, Invisible. That is really cool. He says he has metals with parts of spacecraft incorporated into the metal. Lunar Lander Apollo 11. That's really cool. Well, fun stuff. So I kind of squirreled myself. I do that every time I change topics.
Oh, that's what this is all about.
Yeah. Well, no, that's what Sunday's all about.
Well, it could have been worse.
No, it's all good.
And then it would have took a large
tangent. I got through a majority of what I wanted to get through. Again, what was hard for me is that, like last night while touching up, I had the blue screen of death.
Uh-oh.
Uh-huh.
So have you tried reseating your RAM?
Say again?
Or checking to see if it's seated properly? Usually the blue screen of death comes from a RAM issue.
Well, I haven't messed with it right now. I was too frustrated trying to get through and the thing not doing the computer resetting. So I've got to set my computer down and do all this. I didn't have time to screw with all that yesterday. I lost everything. It was all my research. Like I had to restore from 2 weeks ago. And so I lost all of the research that I had done for this particular talk, which, I mean, it had already happened. I was already scheduled. It is what it is. I remember a majority of the information. Not a big deal.
Not that I would use it, but.
Say that again?
I says, they make flash drives for just that reason.
Well, the problem is that it's on my external, but actually, I don't think it was. I don't think it is on my external. I think it is on my, it was on my hard drive. But the problem is that when I restored it, it wiped out like the software. So I had to go back through and I was like, well, I need to update that anyway, because I had to go through and reset some of the things that I had changed in the last couple of weeks. Because remember, I had the issue with the microphone where it was cutting in, cutting out, cutting in, cutting out. So I had to go back through and change all of that because the restore turned all that stuff back on because I was still having that problem back then. So I wanted to go through and do some updates, and then I ended up clicking this widget and I ended up wiping everything out. So not only did I lose all my data from the research that I did for the talk, I wiped out my entire format for StreamYard or Streamlabs.
Ooh.
So I was up to like 1:30 this morning because you can look, if you look at the screen, you can see it looks nothing like what it was, right?
No, it doesn't. Yeah, I kind of like this one better though.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. It took me a little while to configure it. Now I do like this where I have the changes, so it actually shifts back and forth. So I can do this structure, which is just me in the backdrop. So whatever I want to talk about, if I have it up, I can talk about the particular coin. I have my opening stream. So my opening screen plays music and it says the live stream is starting. So like if you and I are going over something in the beginning, like tomorrow we're going to be talking about something and we have 2 or 3 minutes, we're still to finish up before we begin the live, then I will start it on the starting screen. It'll play music and say starting soon. So the live is going. It gives people a chance to get in, chat, do whatever. So it's definitely improvement, but it's not a planned improvement.
What is your topic for tomorrow?
I haven't done one yet because yesterday crushed me. And all my plans to do the work for tomorrow was resolved in correcting all the crap that happened today. So I'll figure out something. I've got very little going on. My wife's working all day today. We've had a lot of rain, so I'm not going to be doing too much yard work. I'm going to let it.
Oh, that's right. You did get the rain. The rain went the opposite direction for us for a change.
Yeah, we had it rained for like 17 straight hours. And
you guys needed it though.
Badly. But it wasn't a heavy rain. It was link. What link? Drop what link? You got to be more clear. Drop the link. I don't know what link.
He must have something to show you.
Oh. I'm an idiot. So I'm going to email it to you, Ray. Because the one that I have set up here is for back only. It's back door only. That sounded terrible.
Not anymore.
Yeah, I changed the I sent you out a new one. Okay, it should be, hold on. It didn't go. There it is. You should have it, Ray. Go ahead and check your email. Come on up. Hey, Ray, does the premiere train start at 10:15 today? Link was Min Mod Squad. Yeah. It's still there, but I don't know if anybody's going to go back and look at it. If they do, they do. Not a big deal. But this particular one, I don't want to give out. I think I gave a different one out for that particular one. So we'll see. But Ray should be here in just a few moments. Speak of the devil.
Hey.
Good morning.
Sorry, I'm losing my voice. I have a nasty cold going on. But I got some cool ones to show you since you're in my favorite subject.
Are you a big shipwreck guy?
Real.
Your coins are way too neat.
Partner,
They're supposed to be strewn across your desk.
It's good looking. Hold on, let me make you big, Ray. Just a sec. There we go. Now you can see a little bit better.
That's the shipwreck coin there.
And that's one of the columnaros.
Well, this is not the pillars and globes.
Oh no, columnaros ended at 1773.
Mhm. Plus, this is also an error coin too, which is kind of nice. Half real, 1807 over 6.
Yeah, my the 2 real that I have from the Atosha actually has a repunched mint mark on it.
So this is off the Atocha. It's a half real.
Just a little bit bigger than a widow's mite.
That is the one that it's a facsimile, but I have a ring made with that.
That was very cool. Now let's get into some more fun stuff here. This is a shipwreck coin also, but we don't know which one because it was never marked. Looks really nice on the back, but this is the side the sand went across.
It looks like half real size.
Well, this one is an 8.
Oh, that's a nice one there.
Pretty cool.
And all of these are 8s. And here is another cool one I just got. Now that one is the pillars and globes. And that's a piece of 8. And you can see the Japanese counter stamp there. So this one traveled the world quite a bit. Well, that's a piece of 8. It's a cob, cut cob.
Yeah, so this is one of those. So it's been clipped. This
Got
is
Chop marks and clips.
So this would be a 2-bit, right? 2 real. Wait.
It's approximately either that or 4, probably by weight. It's still pretty thick and got quite a bit of weight to it.
It's probably 4 then. If it's because it looks a little bit thick, but yeah.
It's been cut down that much. I've got some early stuff here. 2 real, Spain, 1721.
It's in good shape.
So is that your main thing, Ray, or is that like just a side thing?
As far as collection, because I collect Mexico also, it's definitely one of my passions, I guess you would say. I love shipwreck coins. I was a Goonies fan when I was a kid, for sure. Indiana Jones. I always wanted to go find my own treasure, and that's what I do with metal detecting. Kind of fulfills that within me.
Have you come out to the Florida coast and went down?
No, I have not, but I would love to be able to do it. And so this is a 4. These are all the 2 reals. And now we're getting into the real. And I have like some of the early, here is a 1 real, pillars and globes.
I'm gonna check something. I think I have. I don't think the coin I have. I think is English. Hold on.
And I've got one from Guatemala from 1900, but and here's another pillars and globes, 1768, half real. And I've even got some earlier ones as far as, here's another cut cob off of Marvides.
That stuff's outstanding.
And here is a 1622 Marvides, 16 Marvides, I should say. And this one is a 2 Marvides. So these are their coppers. There is the info for it. 16 tells you when it was minted and stuff like that.
The one I have isn't copper. It's copper. It's not. It's not silver.
So this one is 1711, and this one is off the Santa Fe de Bottega. So it's another shipwreck coin. Here's the info on it.
That's very cool. Hey, good
So
morning,
that's
Joyce. Good to see you.
My Crazy Passions. Another Pillars and Globes there, and some more Marvides. And then you get into the regular Mexico stuff too. And I've got some older Mexico of the 8 reals. When you get into the 1800s, this is what they look like, the caps and rays. And so
Very
that's kind of
cool.
my treasure quest, I guess.
Yeah, awesome. I'm in awe of it.
Yeah, that's one thing that, like you and I have talked about this in the past, Ray.
Mhm.
But I definitely need to get some shipwreck stuff, and I need to get the year that I'm looking for is 1773. That's my year. That's the one that
That's
I
your
want to get.
jam.
Huh?
That's your jam year.
Well,
Your mint
it's
year?
200 years before I was born,
Yeah,
so
that's when you got minted.
yep. I was minted in 1973.
See, I don't have any. Well, that's 93. I don't have any in 73. I know of.
I have 173, but it's a pence coin.
Hmm. There's a 77. I don't think I have a 73 in anything.
Yeah, I like the pillars too. That's the one that I have. I'm gonna pull you off screen for just a second.
Yeah.
The pillar, that's the one that I have here on this particular screen. And it's just a good looking coin. I love the reverse on this one. 73 babies unite. Yeah, that's right. So very cool.
That's right. Frosty's just a young kid.
Say that again.
So you're just a young kid.
Oh, you're only what, 2 years older than me?
A one.
Sheesh.
And we won't even go to Eric.
Yeah, add 10.
What year were you born in, Eric?
65. Well, what a year.
Yep.
73 was when I was going full coin collecting.
I know Paula's 67.
Silver selling machine. Hey, what's going on? She's a 73 baby too. Outstanding. Hey folks, make sure you're smashing that like button if you would. Yeah. Ray's old news.
Old news, yeah. We got a bunch of old news with this stuff.
He's an old man. So how many shipwrecks coins in total do you think you have?
1, 2 there. 3, 4. I wouldn't really classify that I know of. The other pillars and globes that I had that one. So probably
Good
about
job
5 or
outing, Paula.
6.
That's funny.
5 or 6.
That's cool. Yeah, it's definitely something I want to do. So here's a question for the few of you who are in chat. I don't have very many people in here today. Would you guys like me to do to try and work on getting somebody who actually dives for shipwreck coins and has actually got to dive some of the big ones, who's actually found some stuff? Would you guys like me to do that? Because I can reach out. There's a few people I can reach out to and see if I can.
There is some people that do that.
Say what, Ray?
On the History Channel, there are quite a few films that they've done on some of these shipwrecks. They're just mind-blowing. The Atosha and the Cazador, the filming that they did on it was just phenomenal. But just the opportunity to be, even if you didn't get to keep it, but you got to go down there and just find it and bring it back up, would be amazing.
Yeah, I'd like to. Again, they have little excursions where you can go do some of the little dives and stuff. I'd like to go do that. Of course, in order for me to do that, I either have to get to Oregon and hang out with my mom and walk the beaches for a while, or get down to the East Coast. When you look at the shipwrecks and you look at where they're located, in retrospect, it's like 20 to 1 east to West Coast. So West Coast is less likely to find something than you would be on the East Coast. So I would have to get over to Florida or somewhere in that the Carolinas in order to try to find something. But that's down the road one day.
That, was talking on one of those History Channel shows, says when you find something, you get treasure hunting in your blood. You can't get it out.
I believe that.
Yeah, and I guess that's the reason why I've always gone metal detecting and Native American artifact hunting my whole life, and just the curiosity of discovering something unique is what's pretty awesome.
What's up, Compton? Yeah, you found some pretty good stuff metal detecting. You've had some really cool finds. So I can see by watching some of the stuff you find and how excited you get when you find certain items. I can see how that would impact that.
1954 Benji is what I pulled out last week.
Well, very cool. Hey, did the premiere train start at 10:15 today?
I haven't. Let me look at my email here.
I need to look that up. Not getting the emails. It's like,
yes, it's going to start at 10:15 with Will's treasure.
I need to tell Mad to continue to include me on those emails.
Well, he was concerned that you were not going to do it anymore. That's what he told me about.
Say that again.
But he made an assumption you weren't going to do it anymore.
No, but I stream into it, so I need to know when you guys start.
I'd love to have you back on there. Trust me. We were talking about that.
The problem is time.
There's stuff I may talk to you in private about too. I may call you afterwards.
Yeah, the problem with that is time.
Yeah, time is the killer.
When you're putting videos together, like I was trying to build for the premiere train, I'm 3 to 5 hours just in editing, let alone writing the scripts and putting stuff together and doing all that stuff.
Well, it's like even with my more short videos I do for 15 minutes, one, I have to do the filming of it, find the content, go get the content, edit it, put it together, re-listen to it to make sure everything is kosher in it to be able to release it. That I didn't pull in some piece of, film where I drop the camera or something. You have to make sure all the pieces are good.
Well, cool. Yeah, I would love to. I would love to do that. I want to get. There's a couple places around here. There's one place that I finally, because you remember I told you, you're familiar with Lackland,
Yes.
right? So there's a place not too far away from Lackland. It's on government property, and I asked to metal detect it one time. I was going to borrow buddies, and they said no.
Yeah.
And so I put in another request, and they're like, no. Well, the head guy changed. There's a new commander over there. And I was like, hey, I want to go look at some stuff. It'd be cool to be able to find a couple items, present it. You guys can talk about the stuff that's there. You guys do walks and tours of the area. It'd be fun to be able to find some stuff. Would you mind if I brought a detector out and looked at it? He's like, I need to check and make sure that it's okay. I can't tell you you'd be able to keep what you found because you're actually on base.
Right, and it's government property.
Yeah, and so but he goes, it'd be cool for you to be able to do that. I'm like, well, let me know. And so he's actually running the request to see if I can do that. Because if I can, it's cool because during that time frame, and we're talking 30s, 40s, 50s, so it's not like there'd be anything crazy cool there. But
well, that's what I'm doing here. It's an old air base that has been shut down, but was around from the 30s. And I have the opportunity coming up, most likely, to be able to hunt even an older air base from, or an older base, I should say, from World War One. And that may come in the future when we drop some videos on that. And there'll be me and possibly several other people too, but I've got to see if that all pans out.
yeah, it's I would like to do that. Again, I've done it a few times, borrowing other people's equipment. My granddad had an old one that I used when I was a kid. Of course, they weren't very good back in that day. But I'd like to do it. I've never really found anything cool. But, it's still just be fun to get out there and hang out. And, I'd love to get together with you and, go find a place and just kick back, get some people to do it.
Find pop tops.
It'd be a lot of fun.
I will warn you, though. Your passion for coins, if you find something really cool, that'll kind of go a little bit to the side, because you'll have a new passion.
Well, again, it all boils down to time.
You can collect coins, but when you go out and find them for yourself, wow, there's something to that.
Yeah, well, Jackalope, or so much for American freedoms. Well, again, when you're scuba diving off of foreign nations' waters, you have to abide by their rules, not ours. we often forget when we go overseas that we're in a foreign land, especially when you go to a nation where they all speak English. You're still not in the
area around place. Coast of each individual island or anything around the Caribbean. That is their waters, their so whatever you find belongs to the government there. Or you may even get in trouble just even finding it without getting a permit to go find it.
Well, it's one thing to stumble across it. It's another to go searching.
You're right.
But just like within the Oregon coast, you're not allowed to remove things. If you find something in a tide pool, you're not allowed to remove it. You're supposed to reach out and get a hold of one of the game wardens or whatnot. They go into the area and they pull it out. You're not supposed to even remove it from there. There are some hefty fines for doing that, especially my mom lives off Canada Beach over by Haystack Rock. And people are fined all the time for taking stuff out of there, and you're not supposed to. Now, it's one thing if you find like sea glass or something like that on the beach, but tide pools, you're supposed to stay away from the tide pools.
It's just some other way for the state to be able to con money out of people. That's the way I look at it.
It's not that. Again, now, so you're talking to somebody who's maintained coral reefs inside a 300-gallon tank.
Yeah, there is that in the animals and stuff that live in the tide pools and stuff they want to protect.
But in order to get there, you have to walk over those animals.
I know.
So again, a lot of people don't know what they're walking in next to by. So a lot of people, it's a matter of control. Actually, it's more of a matter of preservation, especially with the Oregon coast, because they've had so many issues with people pillaging stuff from them that they're just like, no, we're not doing that anymore. We're trying to protect our coastline.
Well, that's like I looked up the laws in Oklahoma to go metal detect, and I did hit a park. I tried to find some older parks, but I couldn't find them. I did find several coins and stuff like that, but if you find anything over 100 years old, you can't remove it. Or if it's a Native American artifact or artifacts, you cannot remove it. You have to call the police department or any of the authorities to come out, and they would investigate it and remove it and whatever, and when I had no problem with that. But we did look up the rules on that. But that's the same thing with Texas. With any of your, I think it's federal or state, it depends on which one it is, parks, you cannot remove any artifacts either, because it's federal lands or government land.
Well, Nevada, you can't even dig for it. You can only pull it off the surface.
Well, Nevada doesn't basically, every mineral right in Nevada's got claims on it, doesn't it?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can't dig it all in if it's not on the surface, you can't dig it up.
Well, and that was a big fight. There was that T-Rex that they discovered. Was it Nevada?
I thought it was New Mexico, but yeah, it could be.
And so what they did is they claimed, the government tried to come back and they took it away from them. They're fined, even though it was on private property. They took it away from them because they said they didn't have the mineral rights to it. So they were trying to prove that it was a mineral. Fossils were minerals. See how ridiculous? When it comes to money, people get greedy on both ends.
The American way.
Down to, and so you find something good, someone's going to try to fight you for it. They have no claim to it at all. They're going to try to come up with some way of taking it away from you.
Look at the lottery stories. People hit the lotteries and their own family turns against them.
Exactly.
That's why a lot of places will claim lotteries through corporations in Florida. They'll hire an attorney to claim it under a separate company, and then they do it behind the scenes, so people don't know you have it.
Unique plan if I were to ever win the lotto, something like that.
Oh, I would never make it public that I did it. I would turn it into.
Some states it's mandatory you make it public.
Well, so
some of them they make you do it just so people can pick on you.
Hey, Sorcerer Stan with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much, bud. Appreciate you.
I would take enough for what I need for retirement, healthcare, take care of my kids, and I would probably give everything else away to those who I felt needed it.
Well, they say that there's no shortage of people with their causes.
Well, I know. I would be very wise in what I would do with it and know where the money was going. I know where, the work was being done with it. I would be very cautious. I wouldn't just frivolously give it away. I would be very wise with it. But I mean, I've been getting everything I need in life. I have a good job. I have, retirements, building and saving, and, I can't use it once I'm gone. So
that is true.
I would just use what I need, and everything else would be a gift to someone else who needed it.
I would claim it under a trust. I would set up a trust, and that money would go straight into that trust. I would pull out what I needed to pay my bills, and then it would go into a trust.
Mm-hmm.
Because what's the statistics on people who win the lottery that end up broke?
Oh, huge.
Yeah, it's a significant number. I met a guy
They
here in
blow
Texas.
this money. A lot of times they go blow all this money, and then the federal government goes, "Where's our share? We need more than half." What do you mean? We've already spent it. Too bad. We want it back.
Well, they, like in Texas, they take the tax right off the top.
Federal money right off the
Right.
top.
Yeah, so you don't have that
Federal-
option.
Your federal income tax, though, is the big one.
Say again?
The federal income tax is what'll get you.
Yeah, but they take that out straight off the top. You don't even see that money.
Yeah.
That money comes out. They take that money straight out.
No waiting for your 1099. Well, heck, the IRS penalized me for not paying quarterly taxes because they said I made too much money without paying taxes on it, and it was nothing. They fined me $300. I was like, that's crazy, because it was not much money at all. It was basically eBay type money.
Yeah.
So if you hit millions, you can only imagine what the quarterly tax fine would be for that.
Well, and that's the thing, is that everybody wants their share of it because everybody wants it.
And that's the thing, that there's a guy that he was like the first guy to win $100 million. And he said it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
And basically for 2 years, he was spending money to hide and to fight litigation from his own family.
Yeah. Well, and that's like, not to be political or anything, but if Trump wouldn't have ran for president, all of these charges that they've got, they never came after him for any of it.
Hey, what's going on, Ashes?
You never know. I mean, you're probably right, but
money.
It's conjecture.
Yeah, and it's money, and people, they have the greed bug, and everybody wants it, and everyone wants to take it from them.
That's the American way. Nobody likes to see anybody get ahead. Everybody wants to get ahead.
Mm-hmm. So if I were to ever find any Spanish gold, metal detecting, would I tell anybody? Most likely not.
Well, that was we had the member ask, or the person came in. They were not a member. They just seen the channel and popped in on the stream, and they asked, if you found something, would you tell anybody? And it's like, well, legally you're required to, but there's a lot of people that wouldn't, just because
a wise person would not, because it becomes more of a nightmare for them than it would be a benefit in any way.
Yeah, but again,
and it all depends on the circumstances.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't play with it.
Well, like the farmer who gold in his field, plow it. Okay. He calls, the authorities come in and confiscate everything. I'm like, dude, it's your land. But he didn't know what to do with it. It was his land, his property rights, his mineral rights, and then you had everybody and their dog trying to fight him to pull it away.
Well, even the shipwrecks, like the Etosha and Margarita, there was a year-long court battles from the government of Spain trying to get their money back.
Yeah, because Spain would want it. The original indigenous colonies that were there would want
there was
it.
insurance actually on it. I was unaware that a lot of this stuff was insured, and there was insurance claims from it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's no statute of limitations for those. Yeah. Yeah, the governments are really funny when it comes to shipwreck stuff. Really funny, because, I mean, so say you find a ship off the Florida coast within the U.S. waters. Well, Spain will fight for it. Mexico will fight for it because they're the ones who minted it, or Bolivia or Cicadas or any of these.
Guatemala, someplace, yeah.
They'll try to claim it. Your insurance people try to claim it. And see, the thing is, they don't realize that Spain went over there, enslaved the indigenous, and made them, and took it anyway. So whose is it really? And that's what all these lawyers know too. Is like, well, who can say who it really belongs to anyway? Who has finder's fee for it or finder's claim?
Yeah, and how much did they spend getting it? I mean, like Mel Fisher, he was millions of dollars deep out of his own pocket to find all this stuff.
Yeah, and then have everybody try to take it away from him before he could even pay himself back.
Hey, Sorcerer Stan, 5 gifted memberships.
So that's the hard part about.
Thanks, brother.
You know, especially me growing up in eastern New Mexico, I would hear all of these little treasure stories growing up, and of Wild West stories and buried gold here and buried gold there, and with a lot of tales like that, there is some facts to it, and so there is the potential you could find something. People have found stuff that was some of those old tales. Like you go back in the 30s when they tried to take everybody's gold away, and a lot of people put them in mason jars and buried them in their yards.
Yep, and they're still finding mason jars full of gold
And they
and silver.
still find them.
Yep, and then you got the Confederate, the 21 wagons that are buried somewhere who we'll never find.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that at the local coin shop today. He had gotten a 1846 Dahlonega gold piece, $5 gold piece. And we were talking about that, about coins minted there, that the Confederacy used the mints, even though it wasn't mint employees, they used the mint and the equipment to make Confederate coinage there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he says, and nobody ever found out. There's proof that they minted just all sorts of stuff. And it's gone. I says, yeah, it's in the 21 wagons that are buried somewhere between Texas and North Carolina.
Yeah. Well, there was even the theory that they took it up to the Great Lakes and were trying to.
Yeah, on the train.
On the train,
actually,
yeah.
There might be something to that, because all of a sudden, Lake Michigan has basically been shut off to artifact hunting in that part of Lake Michigan. So I'm assuming that there's a big stink going on about whose money it is and who gets it, because that it's totally went away.
Well, it's our state. It was found in our state, so we're going to close it off, and we don't unless we get the money.
Yeah, and you don't hear nothing from that guy except that they found something. He never says anything because his lawyers said don't say a word. Yeah, because he's probably got a NDA, a non-disclosure, where he's not allowed. Well, that, and I think they got good lawyers, because what's the guy that does Oak Island? He's involved in that thing too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So,
yep. Well, cool, folks. I just found out the Will's Treasures actually premiered at 10. So he just ran his premiere. So,
well, that's weird because it's supposed to go to 10:15 our time.
They may have had somebody come in and fill up last minute.
Yeah.
So, all right, folks. Well, we'll be back on tomorrow. Ray, thanks for coming up and showing those coins. I appreciate you.
Yeah, good stuff, Ray.
No, thank you.
And I've got a guest coming in next Saturday. He's going to show some stuff. Now, he's found a bunch of those actually treasure hunting. Hey, treasure hunter, just subscribed. Thank you. Outstanding. Didn't see that. It never showed up in my my feed, but thank you so much for doing that. That's awesome.
I'll drop my link there.
But so we've got somebody who's going to be coming up. They've actually went through, found some 8 reals. I believe it was in the Carolina coast. There was another place that I can't remember off the top of my head where they found it.
That was the standard of money. That's what we used. That was colonial money was.
So I'm going to have him up next weekend. We're going to go through some of those items. But what I would like to ask everybody before you guys leave is, will you email me and let me know the kind of stuff that you guys want to hear? I can continue to just come up with stuff that's random and based off of, topics that I decide. But if there's stuff you guys really want to know about, really want to hear about, let me know. Asking the question. Say again?
I was saying hi to Ashes.
Oh, okay. Looking at the coins and stuff that I find, or the histories that I find interesting. If you guys want me to just continue to just put stuff out and do that and kind of find topics, it's fine. But if there's stuff you really want to do, the topic that I did the other day, which had nothing to do with coins, was a member requested topic. And that was regarding the House of Representatives and the Selective Service, right? So if there is something that you want me to talk about, there is something out there that maybe it's not coin related, maybe it's money related, but tied to something else, let me know, and I will do what I can to either bring the right person up to talk about it, or I will do the research and do it myself. So
or you're stuck with me.
Sundays, I'm stuck with him. So again, Paula will be back. She came up and said hi earlier, but she's hanging out with Miss Ida, so they're going to be doing their stuff. But again, Sundays are just open chit chat. We'll talk about whatever. But if you have something very specific that you want me to talk about, or you have a specific set, or maybe you have a really cool set of coins that you want to share, again, email me, ! Email. Email me, let me know, and you and I will talk, and then we can move forward with a plan. All right? Because again, ultimately, folks, it's my channel, but this channel's for you. So you guys let me know what you want to talk about. All right? All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and end this. Do I know about Tommy Thompson? Email me, we'll discuss it. I'm not sure.
Hey, everybody have a great day. I got to get out of here. Frostbite.
All right, y'all take care. Be well, be blessed.
See ya.
Hey, Ray, stay on for just a second.
I sure will.
We'll talk afterwards. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being in here. I greatly appreciate you. Thank you for everything that you do. I support. I appreciate the support, Stan, for the gifted memberships and for the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. I definitely appreciate you. And for all of those who support, not only through subscribing to the channel, but through sharing it out and through commenting. Again, commenting, sharing it out, watching those videos really does help the channel. So thank you so much. To my members, I love you. I appreciate you.